notice my vocal inflection is not on the drum beat. And I think I've mentioned that before to some of the people in this audience. And so kind of keep an ear out for that. It kind of keeps the song balanced. You know, it gives the song some energy there to kind of keep it moving. Like a Chuck Berry song, you know. So I'm going to stop, just pause for a second and see if anyone has any questions before I move on.
So what language are all your songs written Crow language, or do you mix a language from many languages, or how do you?
Yeah, and that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I know you don't put a lot of words, but when you do.
Yeah. When there are words, you use the language from the tribe that you're in. Yeah. So, you know, if you were a Crow Indian and you made a song and you wanted to put Crow words in there, you would do that.
Go with Crow.
And you never hear a song with more than one tribal. I mean, I've never heard of that before, you know. And you know, it's very tribally specific. But most of the songs don't have words in them. But what's unique about that is that it's the Plains Indian style of song that doesn't have the words in it. So let me just kind of like take a step back and let's look at that first song that I sang there. The lead goes like this. That's the lead. That was it. Okay. And then, so if you're sitting around a drum, the lead singer would sing that part. Then the whole drum would sing it together. It's like a call and response. Then everyone sings that. Then you go into the first verse. That's one verse. That's the first verse. Then you would sing that again. And then you would be through the song once. Then you would start back up again. Now, that lead that I showed you, you can't write that down, right?
Yeah.
You could try to write that down, and you could probably put some whole notes in there with, you know, nomenclature, and you could probably put a treble clef in there, and probably try and find a way to write that sound down, but it would be very difficult. It would be more difficult than writing a language, and it would be more difficult than interpreting a written language, because it encompasses a sound that would be very difficult to interpret any other way than with the human ear, is what I'm getting at here. And so you have to hear that, right? And you have to hear it again and again and again if you're someone like me who doesn't pick up real fast, you know, before you finally say, oh, I get it. You know, it took me a long time singing on a drum. When I started singing, I was 17 years old, but I was so accustomed, I already had a musical background. I played instruments in the band. I played the saxophone for 6 years. You know, I loved all kinds of music. And so, but it still took me a while to understand and to hear the song there. But once I got it, I got it. And then one of the other things I understood was, well, this music is not for listening to. You know, I mean, listening to it is fine. That's okay. This music is for participating in. Participating in this music and listening to it are two very different experiences. When you're singing this song, you've got these vocables coming out. There's no way that you can really intellectually interpret that any other way than what's going to be from your, you know, whatever's coming from your mind and in your heart. Everyone's going to have a different take on what's coming out of that mouth, see? Because there's no specific words there. But but you're going to be in tune with each other nevertheless, see? So it's really kind of like a transcendent experience in a lot of ways, you know? And so you're out there, you're there, and then when you really get into it, like when I first started singing with my uncle, I think the thing that most, like, compelled me was that he said, "You kids get out of here. You know, we're serious." And then when we started singing, like if somebody messed up, he'd say, "Get your stick out of there, you know, or watch yourself here, you know. This isn't fun and games. We're singing a song here, you know." For him, being serious was what was fun. Playing around and not really, you know, getting in, you know, he didn't have any patience for that. And I was like, I like that. I said, because to me, he wants to have excellence, and he was you know, he was just an excellent, he was the kind of guy, he said, we never would perform at a powwow unless you had all our songs down. You know, and you gotta have at least a dozen different style of songs, and you gotta have at least 3 or 4 different kinds of those songs. That's a lot of different kinds of songs. You've got all different kinds of beats, you've got different word songs, you never know when they're gonna be sung. You have to know them. And he would flat refuse, he would not enter into a powwow if he didn't think that we were good enough. And so I think to me that was, I just thought, here's another form of music that a lot of people don't respect and they don't understand, but it can be taken to a level of excellence, you know, just like any other form of music. And so that's what we tried to do, and we did. We were good. We had a drum group, we had about 15 guys in our drum group, and women. And we practiced hard. We'd sing for 3 hours per session. We'd sing from like 8 to 11. And we'd sing steadily, and by the time we were done, our voices were shot. We could hardly talk, you know. We'd sing loud, and we'd sing hard, and then your wrists get real tired right in here from holding that drumstick and hitting the drum, because it's a heavy stick. You'd be surprised. So then you got to kind of switch over to your left hand, you know. And then by the end of the evening, you've been working out for 3 hours, and you've been hanging out with people, and you just feel really good. You're relaxed. You've kind of calmed down. You've released your tension, you know. And then I thought, you know, this is pretty good. I like this. And then you can see why people keep coming back to it. And then you go to a powwow and you perform in front of people and you kick it up to the next level, because now you've got a whole crowd standing around you and it's just like, yeah, we're performing. Yeah.
When you're doing this, you're talking about a drum group. Is this around one large drum,
Yeah.
or a whole lot of these?
Yep. Well, you can do, you know, mostly here in Montana and in Wyoming and Dakotas, you see the big drum, one big drum. And that's pretty much what you see at powwows. And you typically see men sitting around it, because that's typically the Northern Plains tradition. There are tribes that have women sitting at the drum. All the tribes have women singing, but they typically stand behind the men. But when you go up into Canada, like with the Crees up there, they'll have like 15, 20 guys with these kind of drums, and they have this special thing that they do. They put their fingernails a lot of practice, because if you, of course, if you put your fingers too hard, and if you don't put them too wide, you don't really get the. It's hard to get it, but these guys have it down. If you ever pick up a CD of like Northern Cree hand drum songs, and you hear that sound of 15 different drums going like that, you say, "What is that sound?" It's like you've never heard anything like it, you know, because they're all right on with each other, and then they start singing, and it's dramatic. It's a sound that, you know, I don't know if you can duplicate it with like a synthesizer or something. But and then to be there in that setting, like I said, this is folk music. This is the kind of music that everyone is able to sing. Everyone partakes in it. And if you think about all of our musical backgrounds, if you go far enough back, all the music was folk music at one time. You know, everyone participated. music wasn't for, you know, people listening to. It was for you to sing to. And so, anyway, that's a good question. I prefer hand drums. I love singing on hand drums. But there's also something special about sitting around a drum. By the way, today this is a great opportunity to plug the powwow, which is next weekend at Bozeman, and it's a free event, open to the public, and put on by the American Indian Council. Yep.
Do you have kids in the
I do have 3 daughters, and my daughter used to go to Irving, but she doesn't go there anymore. No, she goes to Anderson School now. Who's your teacher?
Mrs. Bevan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you probably go to school with some for friends and stuff, though. That's a good question. Yeah, and my daughters all dance, so yeah.
Where is the powwow?
The powwow is at the Field House, which is an incredible venue because there's a lot of different things that make it so wonderful. One of the best things about it is that you have a lot of seating there, and you have easy access. You can just walk right up to the drum, and then walk back to your seat. You know, you can see the dancers. You can get really close to the action. Whereas if you were at the Adams Fieldhouse in Missoula, you're kind of separated. You know, you're kind of up on this balcony, and the dancers and the drum is down there. You can get down there, but there's really no place to sit. And so the venue at the Fieldhouse is really unique. The other thing too is if you went to Missoula, you'd have to pay $7 to get in the door for each session. And so there's 3 different sessions. Whereas here at MSU, it's free. And this is the first year as well at MSU that they won't actually be having free dinner for everyone. They usually feed about 400 to 500 people on Saturday for free, which is an incredible tradition. But they had to end it this year because they decided that they wanted to put their resources elsewhere, and they wanted to bring in a real famous and celebrated drum group from Canada called Northern Cree. And so they're one of the more... I don't know if they'll have their hand drums with them. They might. That would be something if they did. That would be really something. I would encourage you to go listen to them.
What time does it start?
Well, on Friday it starts at 6 p.m. and that's probably the highlight of the evening with the grand entry. So all the dancers will come in. There'll probably be about 200 or 300 dancers, and they'll all have their regalia on. It's very colorful, very action-packed, and that's a good thing to witness. You know, it's a fun thing to watch. And and then Northern Cree, because they are the host drum, they will be singing most of the songs at that point. The host drum is the drum that sings the most important songs, like when all the dancers come in and when they set up the flag and when they do these different things, and they get a lot of money for that. But it's a very, it's a long day. You know, if you go to a powwow, if you're the host drum, you have to be there for drum roll call, which is usually about 11:30 or 12. And you're going to be there from 12 noon till probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to be there. You know, I mean, you might have a supper break where you could take maybe an hour or 2 to go eat, but you're going to be at that powwow. You're going to be tired.